This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I'm Jacob Payne, and for you today on this Monday, 10 news stories in the queue from the weekend that were vetted as you as conversational. They cover information, politics, pop culture, and current events news. Yes, all the things are taken care of for this morning. We're featuring today the big shakeup at MSNBC, which is basically happening today. The German elections would happen yesterday, and the killer asteroid, city killer asteroid, which may not happen again. Plus, 7 other stories. And yes, we do have Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Yeah, we'll cover them as well. We'll explain the vetting process at the end of the program. Once you follow all the headlines, so you get to know how these stories are picked for today. But first, a quick reminder that our website, our home for the Conversation Project, lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com. You get the full length of information about us, all the offerings we have there, including our origin story and many other ways with many calls to action. You can email us at your convenience whenever it feels like right to you, whenever it feels right, at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Today happens to be Monday, the 24th of February, 2025, and we have, like I said, 10 stories. No particular order as they are listed. They're not by the engagement stories, not by groupings, if you will, today, just sort of out there in the wild. These are stories in the narrative that I think works out best for what we're going on. Basically, the best way to tell the stories. You let us know in the comments and, of course, in the emails if we got the right ones in here. We'll explain how these 10 out of 90 plus stories got into the headlines when we get to the teaser section. No tease. First section is straight up. First story is straight up shock and awe, if you will, as Reid and Alex Wagner are being axed from the MSNBC lineup. The major network shakeup coming right now. This is a surprising move that came out last night as the readout to Reid's program is going to be knocked off, and they're sidelining Alex Wagner from her 9 p.m. time slot. She's not doing it right now. We'll explain more about that. This move comes under direction of the new president. Her name, Rebecca Cutler, was aiming to revamp the lineup, and amid the declining ratings, Reid's final episode is slated for this week, probably today. So her time slots can be filled with a new panel show starting next week. It'll feature Alicia Mendez, Michael Steele, and Simone Sanders Townsend, which is the already running show that's coming on the weekends, the weekend show. Weekends with those three folks. Now turn to weekdays, those three folks, 5 days a week. Wagner has not been on the air since Rachel Maddow came back full-time, doing the first 100 days back full-time doing schedule. We'll see what happens when she stops doing 100 days. Or maybe she may stick around after a while because Trump is such a big factor. They may convince her to stick around a bit longer for that one. But they do have some plans to shore those things up if it doesn't work out. Now, the turmoil within MSNBC began pretty much after the election was over. When President-elect Donald Trump was then president-elect, we knew was going to happen. A visit by Morning Joe host Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski down to Mar-a-Lago to sort of bury hatchets and get back in good graces with the president after spending a whole lot of time bashing him, set some folks off pretty yeah, they weren't very happy with those guys. And also brought back Matt out to the full role for Monday nights, or for all not for 5 nights a week. The staff were upset. People were turning off the TV, and they needed some way to keep people coming in. Maddow is a ratings puller, if you will. They also faced the viewership issues, about 45% loss after Trump's victory anyway, because people were just kind of burnt out on the election stuff. So losing the war for the liberal mind by cozying back up with Trump, and of course losing people who just did not want to deal with politics, was a double whammy. And Rashida Jones, the former president, lost her job because of that one. So what may happen in prime time, or all the time if they need to? The newest face, who's the biggest face in MSNBC these days, are Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary, the first one under Joe Biden, who has been extremely popular with her weekend show, which has bounced around to a weekend show and a once a week show on a nighttime manner. She may get more time slots in the evening. Alex Wagner is not leaving MSNBC. She's just no longer going to roll that hour-long show 4 nights a week. Of course, they're hoping to convince Rachel Maddow to stick around 5 days. That right now has not been set. We do know that Joy Reid is done this week, probably tonight. So you might want to keep an eye out for this, what should be an epic last show. She is getting last show, which is better than some folks get, but it should be epic going out the way door. Flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails all around for everybody on her last night in. Probably tonight. Want to DVR it just in case it's too late for you. Well, it's like prime time. So just in case you have other issues, I guess. Elon Musk's DOGE mandates federal employees to document work or resign. This is an ongoing story that got put out on Friday or Saturday. We talked about it Saturday in some other things we had. And it basically said for all government employees, they had till sometime today to give them a list of what they've been doing for a while, or they probably just need to just resign. They'll just need to quit because they can't really prove what's going on. He's not quite the leader, but they list him as the helm of DOGE. So we're kind of confused about that one, but it's a stark directive towards all federal employees. Basically, account for your work week or consider your position vacated, step away. The mandate was, as I said, very sudden, and this disseminated via the Office of Personnel Management. So it seemed like it was a real deal in civil service. Now, what became interesting in this one, I'm going off script on this one, so bear with me, is that many agency heads have told their workers to just not follow it, including Cash Patel, the new FBI director, who just told his people, don't listen to it. Also, leaders from State Department, Justice, Defense, and Health and Human Services were all told to just not answer the email. Yeah, one thing that was kinda odd about it is that it looks a lot like the other spam emails that they get in those types of scenarios, that they take the, yearly time to watch the videos and do the update stuff to know not to answer those emails. So it's like, I wouldn't answer it because it seems like it's a scam. It's not a scam. It similarly is real. Musk says this is out there, this is real, and it's a way to get people to kinda pony up to what exactly they're doing because so many people in the government have these jobs and they aren't doing anything. So says Musk, so says Trump, so says people who don't seem to understand how work actually works. Now, this is essentially the same thing he did at Twitter, now X, where he came in and just said, okay, what do you do? Oh, okay, that's not good. If you're fired, it's not good enough. Because if the point is to get the top level talent, that means you got the fire talent that's not top level. This is something that was made famous decades ago in GE, where Jack Welch would fire, I think it was the bottom 20% of people every single year, which essentially was the attrition for more people coming in. So every year, 20% of people would end up leaving, whether they were the new people that weren't caught up well enough or old people that just didn't get caught up to new people or whatnot. Bottom 20% were fired every year, and they seem to make it up. And the government may seem to make it up, except it's going to take a while to get government workers qualified, security clearance into the big deal. So we'll see how this one works out for everyone. But as we see right now, supposedly every member of the federal government has until midnight tonight, Monday night, to tell the DOGE and Musk what they do, or they get fired. We'll see how that plays out. And we're not done with Musk yet. In a surprising move, U.S. Marshals in the last week deputized Elon Musk's private security team. So unprecedented as well as the U.S. Marshal Service actually deputized the members of Elon Musk's private security team, granting them certain rights and protections typically reserved by federal law enforcement agents. The decision comes out amid the heightened security concerns following Musk's appointment to the DOGE committee, and the exact number of security personnel granted is not known, but he has a pretty extensive detail that's made of people who are worthy of these gifts. They are, former military folks, former special forces type guys, real guys in law enforcement, people who actually got out of the world of the government job, if you will, started working in private security for people who pay well, and in some cases don't have to worry so much about stuff until big things happen. But these special deputy U.S. Marshals are authorized to carry firearms on federal property. They may be permitted to detain individuals in specific situations. But Musk's authority actually guarantees Musk's security detail have well, the guarantees exactly have not been told yet, but we do know they've got deputy status for whatever that means. It raises concerns over law enforcement officials about precedent if something happens, if the private guys do something bad that the public guys, the actual marshals, have to clean up. Now, deputizing people for marshals is nothing new. If you're a fan of westerns, Matt Dillon did it all the time to go round up a posse and go look for folks. So it's something that can be done in a moment's notice, and it's something that's been done literally since the marshals been around, finding regular people and giving them deputized rights to go chase people down. Whether Musk's security detail needs these duties, needs these powers, I guess we shall see. Let's go to ICE for a quick minute and talk about acting director Caleb Vitello, who actually no longer is acting director of ICE because of low numbers in arrest. It's a decisive move, but the Trump administration have reassigned Vitello, who was the acting director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that is ICE, due to the dissatisfaction with the current pace of migrant arrests and deportations. The 23-year veteran of the agency will now oversee all field and enforcement operations, focusing on locating, arresting, and deporting illegal immigrants. But he will no longer be the main double head, the assistant director. He's going to drop down to keep doing the work, not getting the big time credit because there's not enough immigrants being arrested and detained. Despite the initial surges in enforcement, recent data notices that a slowdown of rates is happening. About 33,666 individuals deported in the first month for all overall, compared to the monthly average of 57,000 during the final year of the previous administration. That means that the last year under Biden, there were more people picked up than the first month of Trump's term. Trump's not happy about that. Decline has been attributed to logistical constraints, including limited detention capacity and operational hurdles pressed by sanctuary cities and internal information leaks. The response to the administration has been supplementing ICE's resources using military assistance and personnel from other agencies to bolster reinforcement and do things there. So other folks do other work to keep these things going, yet the numbers aren't numbering well. This reassignment follows the recent removal of two other top ICE officials, signaling a broader restructuring among the agency aimed at handling the efficiency and accountability for these people. Homeland Security Secretary Kristen emphasized that the administration is demanding a tangible result from all ICE members, starting with the ICE leadership, and expected to deliver on the president's directives. More people being picked up, rounded up, and sent away. Right now, not necessarily home we see, but away from the borders of the U.S. Happening late yesterday, Germany's conservatives secure election victory as far-right AfD achieves at historic gains in their political movement. Let's talk about what it means and what it means for us US as well. The pivotal election that held on Sunday, when the votes were counted, essentially, Friedrich Merz secured approximately 28.5% of the vote, positioning him as the next form to form the next government. It basically got the most votes out of the numbers because it's basically a round robin type deal. The biggest thing is it's not a complete landslide by any means because the far right alternative for Germany party did get 20.8%. So it's only 8-ish% difference from being in charge, marking the strongest performance to date. Does mean that they will have a bigger say in the government than many people want to, but it is what it is. Social Democrats Party, ran by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, had to bow down. He captured only 16.4% of the vote, meaning that it's a flip flop with Merz taking over the job as chancellor fairly soon. We must have to put together a coalition government by Easter, aiming to address the pressing national and international challenges. If the surge in policy popularity reflects a significant shift in Germany's political landscape, with the party doubling the vote share compared to previous elections. This rise is attributed to public concerns over immigration policies and enormous economic stagnation for the nation. Despite their electoral gains, mainstream parties, including Mences's CDU, CSU, have ruled that forming coalitions with AfD is not going to happen. It's just they're not going to group up with them. The AfD leader Alice Weidel has expressed openness to coalition talks, emphasizing the party's growing legitimacy among voters, but Merz is saying it's not happening. Prospective chancellorship signals a potential shift in both domestic and foreign policies. He, that being Merz, advocated for Europe to achieve greater independence from the United States, particularly in defense matters, amidst concerns over the current U.S. administration's stance towards European allies and that whole Ukraine thing going forward. Election results have promoted plenty of reactions from international leaders with calls for swift formation of the stable government to make sure things maintain their wellness in Germany, including being able to do what they can to support Ukraine and economic reforms for Europe as well. AfD's ascent into the higher part of the Parthenon also rains alarms across other nations as well, as all want to keep an eye on exactly where the far right is going to go going forward. We're going to go to 6 more stories in just a minute. But first, if the button goes the right direction, we're gonna get to 6 more stories in a moment. I'm almost positive if because this looks like next slide is the actual story. We'll get there. But right now, a quick stop off to ask for your help. We need you as news nerds, members of our fable sorority fraternity of folks to help us grow for more fraternity of folks. We're asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the videos you see, to our audio versions of this, to our newsletter, so that more people get more great information like this. Now, we pride ourselves in providing you great non-biased news coverage and then a little bit of commentary from my perspective to kick off the conversations, to tell you what I'm thinking about it, to get your opinion. Many times, as seems to be the case, your opinion and my opinions don't exactly jive very well, but it is what it is, and that's how we do this. This is not a monologue. This is a conversation. Couch as a monologue. So, like the video that you're watching here, so the algorithm will share it to more people, whether they watch it live or whether they watch it in replays, to get the full stories on these 10 stories that may or may not have been covered in mainstream media because of other things to cover. Share it with like-minded people so that they may see it, they may watch it, they may like it as well. Also, the more likes I get, the more I know that I'm doing the right stories. So like it so I know that I've got the right case on it. If I don't have the right case, email me at the conversation inbox at gmail.com and let me know what I should have covered. And if you're not getting this natively into your inbox, natively into your feeds, make sure you subscribe to this wherever you want to. Go to our website and see many places, the many forums where we are located. But this video right here, produced live at the moment, live produced on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. If you like this one here, subscribe to it here. You'll get notifications when we go live weekday mornings at 5:30 in the morning. Our next story is a gruesome one, so just bear with me on this one. South Carolina inmate chooses firing squad for execution first 15 years. Reigniting debates over capital punishment, South Carolina's death row inmate Brad Sigmund has chosen to be executed by firing squad on March 7, 2025. This decision marks the first use of this execution method in the United States in 15 years, last time being in Utah in 2010. Sigmund's choice stems from concerns about the potential prolonged suffering associated with lethal injection, as highlighted by issues in recent executions. Attorneys argue that the firing squad, while violent, may offer a quicker death, though they continue to challenge the constitutionality of the available execution methods at all. Essentially, he should not get the death penalty at all. But if we're going to get it, let's go ahead and give him death by firing squad. Sigmund's decision has prompted a flurry of legal activity. The legal team has filed appeals seeking to delay the execution, citing concerns over the state's handling of lethal injections and the potential of cruel and unusual punishment. The appeals also highlight Sigmund's mental health issues and the efforts towards rehabilitation during his incarceration. South Carolina Supreme Court has yet to rule on these motions, leaving the execution date in potential limbo, but it is only essentially a couple of weeks away. South Carolina moves to reinstate the firing squad as an execution method that went into effect in 2024, driven by challenges in obtaining lethal injection drugs, leading to de facto moratorium on executions. The state's decision has drawn both support and criticism, reflecting on the ongoing national debate on ethics and efficacy of various execution methods. Sigmund's execution date approaches, it serves as a focal point for discussions on the future of capital punishment in the United States. LA Mayor Karen Bass. LA Mayor Karen Bass. She has filed. Buttons aren't working well today. It must be Monday. Karen Bass has fired the fire chief, Kristen Crowley, for LA and appoints an interim replacement for the moment. Shakeup is happening. In a decisive move by the mayor, she's dismissed the fire chief, citing critical lapses in management of the recent Palisade and Eaton wildfires. The mayor highlighted that on the day of the fires, 1,000 firefighters were sent home under Crowley's directive, a decision that potentially exacerbated the disaster's impact. Additionally, Crowley's refusal to conduct a post-incident analysis, as mandated by the Fire Commission, further fueled the concerns about her leadership. In her place, Mayor Bass has appointed Ronnie Villanueva, and a seasoned 41-year veteran of the Los Angeles Fire Department as interim fire chief. Villanueva's extensive experience is expected to guide the department through this transitional period while a national search for a permanent chief is underway. The decision to remove Crowley has ignited a spectrum of reactions across the city, with supporters of Crowley including members of the firefighting union, argue that she has been unfairly sabotaged and scapegoat for systematic issues, such as chronic underfunding and staffing shortages, which plagued the department for years. They contend that the long-standing challenges, rather than individual leadership decisions, were the big hindrance for the wildfire response. Conversely, her critics say that the point of her tenure and has basically been complaining about budget cuts and alleging that management style is terrible, but it may actually have contributed to operational inefficiencies during the crisis. She should have managed it better. Leadership upheaval occurs in the wake of Mayor Bass facing her own scrutiny for her absence in the initial outbreak of the fire. She was in Ghana at a celebration, a inauguration, if you will, as they came out with her assistant mayor running things. And then when she got back to what she saw. The interim chief is now dealing with this new role and what he needs to take care of to keep the fires down and rebuild what he can from that end. He's working with Mayor Bass to get things going forward as she has plans for a new fire chief. The nationwide search for someone who wants that job is out there. I'm not sure who wants that job, but it's out there. The odds of the city killer asteroid have now diminished. They are now down to about 0.28% per NASA. Recently updating their odds that were probability now to 0.28%. That asteroid would hit us in December 22nd of 2032. So just keep in mind on that one. The adjustment follows observations made between the 19th and 20th of February of this year, providing more accurate understanding of the asteroid's trajectory. Despite early concerns, the current data suggests that it will not hit us, or if it does, very, 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 very low chance. Now, the back and forth of things going forward were up to somewhere higher than almost like 20% or so, because it was down to like point 0.2 and then it went up to about 20%, and now it's back down to point 0.2 because we have a better shot of that one. There's still a 1% chance of it hitting the moon, though, which would also be pretty bad. But us being the city killer, destroying a city not quite big enough to knock us off the planet and cause ice age, but pretty much will destroy what it lands, down to a 0.28%, and I am good with those odds. However, the odds of Pope Francis are not looking any better, as he's now listed as being in critical condition, placed on high flow oxygen support. This article was pulled from the best we could from the news articles. Robot Editor pulls them, and they were pulled this morning, about an hour or so ago before we went on the air with this one. So it's fresh information per what Robot Editor can pull. But the 80-year-old pontiff is currently in critical condition at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, battling double pneumonia and early stage of kidney failure. Despite the severity of his illness, the Pope remains alert, expressed gratitude to outpouring support. He actually apparently showed up for a set of mass last night and went back to the hospital for more blood transfusions, more flow oxygen therapy, and dealing with low platelet levels. He's not well right now, dealing with double pneumonia and dealing with all the issues around that, only having basically a lung and a half, to say that much, and just being 88 years old is an issue. He's not been well held for a while. He's been confined to wheelchairs for quite some bit. And this bout of pneumonia, his respiratory issues, which is causing him issues of being able to speak and to get work done, has been a concern for lots of time. Catholics worldwide have united in prayer, significant gatherings, and masses dedicated to recovery. Notably, actress Isabella Rossellini extended her well wishes during the SAG Awards last night, reflecting the widespread concern for the pontiff's well-being. Now, with conclave being in the news, everybody is kind of wondering how this thing's going to happen and what happens next. There are plans in place. There is a assistant pope, if you will. The work gets done. The work gets done whether the pope is there or not. But being the real leader of the Catholic Church is the big issue. Pope is not doing well. We hope for his recovery, but we also understand where things are actually looking. Here's some good news that's not so good news. The FDA removes Wegovy and Ozempic from the drug shortage list, making generic compounds hard to find. Now, the FDA, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, announced that shortages of semaglutide-based medications, specifically Novo Nordisk's Ozempic and Wegovy, have been resolved. The development has made significant implications for compounding pharmacies that have been producing generic versions of these drugs during the shortage period. Now, removing this from the drug shortage list indicates that supply now meets current demand. What's going to happen? Norvo Notice confirmed that it is regularly shipping all doses to wholesalers following the increase in investment to increase manufacturing. This does not mean the price of your Wegovy or your Ozempic is going down immediately, which is would be my issue because my drugs cost a whole lot. But there's a definitely a side mark issue that becomes into play. So, believe it or not, you can get generic semaglutides, GLP-1s. And you see them being advertised on TV as they are actually real things, but you can't get them in wide variety if they are available in the main concerns. So, compounders who make generic versions of these things for people to buy just from the compounder or to buy them from places like Hims and Hers and things like that, are gonna deal with a pinch where they aren't allowed to make as much because it's actually not on the list of being a shortage. So if the shortage is out there and someone needs it, then a compounder can go there and legally make some of it for a cheaper price because it needs to be made. If there's not a shortage, you have to go to the real provider of it, or the generic version, the real provider of the generic version. There are no generic versions of these yet, or at least not for public use, not and anything marketed. So the compounders are going to have to deal with lack of being able to sell these things. So this is a whammy for the market for people who get these on compound because the cheaper versions won't be available as readily, and for people who are buying the real versions, as the cost is not expected to go down tomorrow. So that is our 10 stories that we wrapped up for today. We are teasing a story for tomorrow, although it's being posted today, that basically more information about DOGE and Trump and Musk and what's going on for the cuts in the government. The Trump administration is moving to fire 2,000 U.S. aid workers, USAID workers, and thousands more put on leave. This happened essentially last night at midnight. So we'll start seeing for more, I guess, very sad stories of people being fired on the news going forward, and more information about what happened going forward here and there. We actually did tease last week, talk about Musk's private security team being deputized by the Marshals. So there's proof that the stories we put out there, you guys want to talk about them, they're there. Now, how do we talk about this story about the USAID workers being fired tomorrow? It's very simple. You are going to follow us on our feeds. Our feeds are our links on Facebook and X. We also are on Threads as well, but Threads doesn't give us the stats we use, so we just sort of, kind of skim that one. But on Facebook, we're at facebook.com/, this is conversation project. On X, x.com/th underscore conversation. What you'll see there, every 50 minutes or so, we post a news article from various sources that we look you to check it out. Read it, see if you like it, and then engage in it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it, review it, comment on it. The higher an engagement a story gets, better chance we have talking about it. Today, we had 10 stories. We had 90 stories for the weekend. We took 30 stories at the top in that one, picked the 10 that we gave you in today's narrative. Today and Wednesday, Thursday, and today's Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll produce a show with 8 stories going from the top 15 stories, top half of stories of the 30 or so we get in the day. So that's how it works out. We have 8 stories for tomorrow. If you want to talk about USAID workers getting fired, we'll probably have an update story for this one to actually talk about tomorrow because it doesn't make any sense to talk about the firings if they've been done. We'll do that tomorrow. But if this is a story that you're interested in, click on whatever articles we have on this one tomorrow. Higher engagement score we have, better chance of talking about this one or anything else out there. Now, the conversation project today, powered by Fundrise. Fundrise is a great way to expand on your investments. They began a few years back as a way to expand on real estate investments without having to go through the process of, buying a house, flipping it yourself. You can just put money in a fund and that will be managed just like any other stock, any other ETF. and they let you know what's happening. They gave you information on things they bought, things they upgraded, things they're renting out, things they're selling going forward. All the profits, all the things working through for you as you help fund them with money to do more stuff in that venue. Recently, they gave a letter, and they give lots of letters, a lot of emails, explaining how things work out, explaining how the actual process of getting things, revamping them, putting them back in the market, and why for a while the investments in the real estate wasn't doing so well. And then it turned up after the cycles of things happening. After you get things fixed up and get people back in them, you start making profit. They also have other funds as well, technology fund and a futures fund that allows you to phrase your portfolio in different ways that aren't directly from stock markets. We do have a stock market app that we use as part of our sponsorships as well. But Robinhood, that's them. But Fundrise is one that's very specific because it's people that manage the assets and let you know what's going on. Right now, use our link for a extra shares, extra bits of shares for your signing up, and a little bit extra off going forward, and your opening fees taken care of as well. Go through this. It's a conversationproject.com/fundrise. This is conversationproject.com/fundrise. Remember, investments have a chance of losing money. All have risks, so everything doesn't go to the moon these days. When you put your money into Fundrise, just like any other investment, you have a chance of losing some of it. I do say that my first year in putting into Fundrise, I lost absolutely no money. The next year, the market sort of changed and they started to do updates. So the second year was not so great. This third year, things are turning up. Plus, I'm in other funds, so I'm diversifying with what they have there. You don't have to just do real estate anymore. You can do other funds, but Fundrise will do what it can to manage your portfolio, manage your money well, and so I am endorsing it for you. Go to our link. This is conversationproject.com/fundrise and get in on this today. Conversation Project lives online at this is a conversationproject.com. We want you to stop by our website and learn what you can about us. We have links to old episodes. We have links to various other places that we are live or not so live with our reporting, with our videos, with our audios, with our content. We have our origin story. And of course, to help us keep things going, links to more sponsors and links to our partnerships page. You become a partner and you can directly help us work things out by one, being a monthly subscriber and funding things going forward, and also by being part of my de facto board of directors and give me insights on things. Check us out at our website. This is theconversationproject.com. But the most important thing you can do that costs you very little is to just go to our feeds on Facebook and X, engage in those stories, and email us with your ideas and thoughts about what we're doing at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. All done. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday, the 24th of February, 2025. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thanking all the folks who watched us. We got a high count of 11 people watching us live over the platforms as we produced this morning. So thank you so much for joining us for whatever time you gave us. If you're watching this on a replay, don't feel shy. Tell us where you're watching it from, when you're watching it, and what you're getting from this. And of course, comment on the stories because I need those comments to get more people in so I know what I'm doing. I need more likes so more people get it shared to them in their feeds. And just be a good person today. Love you guys. Mean it. Make sure you're staying hydrated, staying limber and on task for the long, long, long life we need you to live. Life's a marathon. Please don't try to turn to a sprint. That's what we're asking for you. Also asking you to come back tomorrow, if you would please, and check us out for another edition of things you might not have heard.